It's after a meeting with.
No, blue one's good. Oh, thank you. Now I'm distracted. All right, I'd like to call the March 10th, 2022 Library Board Meeting to order. We will first take attendance. Tony, you're here? Here. Jody? Here. Alana?
Here.
And Leanne is here, and Mandy, our Board Commission rep, is absent. I'd like a motion for the order of the agenda.
I move to approve the order of the agenda.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, order of agenda passes. Next, we move to the consent agenda. We are looking for we're looking for approval for the consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes and approval of February financial reports.
I move to approve the consent agenda. I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right, consent agenda passes. Next, on to our regular agenda. First on our agenda is to review and discuss the library space needs assessment. Does anyone want to start with any comments or?
Will anybody be presenting on this, or is this just a discussion for the board?
I think it's just a discussion for
Just
the
a
board.
discussion for the board.
And I think it was emailed out February 14th to the board, just for our perusal. And I think it does tie to, we want to make sure that we have appropriate space if and when we have a new building or a different space.
Yep.
I'd like to, thank you for bringing it to my attention again, last time around here. And I just wanted to note that there were not a lot of numbers that seem tied together.
Is your mic on?
Is the green light?
Now it is.
Okay, perfect.
Whoa.
Oh,
There just seemed to be quite a few numbers that weren't tied together correctly for me, and I need to look at it a lot more to see if I can make some sense out of that. And I was kind of disappointed. None of it was graphed out, so you could literally see some things that may or may not then jump out at me. I'll have to do some of that myself, I guess.
so I was a member of the board when we first received this, but it was a good reminder. I scanned it pretty thoroughly, but I didn't read every word today, and I jumped, at the bottom of it is a really good detail. I think it's good information. This was done pre-pandemic, and I don't know how the pandemic would maybe affect. I know that the square footage might not be the same, or may not change, but the programming and how the library is used, I'm not sure if that's going to work. And I don't know how long this is good for, because this was created in 2019, so it's already several years old. I think it was a 5-year. We were expecting to use it within 5 years. I'm seeing nods from people who were around then.
I thought some of it could have been done in a way that would have been more updatable, because if you put the numbers in there a certain way, you can add the new numbers, and it will kind of bring things into line. So it's not that too badly out of whack. What I did also notice there was seemingly no discussion. Maybe I missed it, of I guess what I'll call entry control, or how many entrances and exits are there, and how does it fit the staffing, and the current library kind of really brings that to mind, because you walk in and you're not even sure which way to go to get in the library, and there's several ways.
Yeah.
None of which are obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what struck me the most is that right at the very beginning, it said that the population of West Fargo was estimated to be 41,700 by 2040, and our 2020 census was 38,000 people. So I think the way this should be considered is what the West Fargo Public Library needs to serve the population today. And that's kind of how I read it as I was going through it, is the estimated collection size, the estimated staff size, the estimated square footage is what we should be having today. maybe, so when we think about it, but you're right, Tony, it, like the per capita collection size, the number of staff per thousand, people, those can be scaled up. But when we're using the space needs assessment, like the square footage especially, I think what we have to be careful is that we know that our population is growing really quickly, that this may be only useful to think about the square footage as what we need maybe today. If we're thinking about our population continuing to grow, the library also needs to grow.
Are you folks talking into mics?
Yes.
Who
We are.
can you not, can you hear me?
Is it hard?
You can't hear me now? Can you hear me?
Okay.
I can get closer. Let's just do a sound check down so
Okay.
everybody, we
Yep.
know.
So check.
Can you hear me?
You're pretty far.
And the gentleman when he was talking.
Okay, testing. Can you hear me now? I'll try better.
We'll
I-
have
I
to
didn't
lean really
right away
close in.
start
Yeah.
doing it. Yes.
All the words were running together.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it, when I first started talking, my microphone wasn't on. That didn't help you any, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Because I have a hard time in this room myself.
And it is recorded, so maybe if you aren't able to catch it and get our attention for clarification, I'm not sure how clear it is on the recording. I've watched them and been able to follow along, but that is an avenue to catch information too.
My bet is from other things I've seen, also not just here, that if you don't talk right into the microphone, you're going to miss a lot of things. So I appreciate your bringing that up.
So is it my understanding that there's no board action? This was just brought to our attention to make sure everybody on the board has read it and is up to date on it, correct?
Yep, and I think at the joint commission and library board meeting, it was noted that, we didn't have the exact square footage, but we did have this available to us, so we wanted to bring it back around. Yeah, there's no action on this right now, but I will say that, we got another email from a West Fargo patron around next steps and, the Science Museum, because I know that had been in talks too with a joint effort, but we also have another group here for a joint effort. And as I left that joint meeting, it really was, what are the next steps, and do we need to reach out to any other entities to really start moving forward? But we do need some cost analysis too. But to answer your original question, there's no action on this item.
But also, I think this is, in addition to just the total square footage, it does have some breakdown to like a suggestion of number of meeting rooms, number of staff workstations, number of technology stations we should be aiming for. So within here is a good starting point. I think it's really, I felt like it was thorough.
Oh, I think it's valuable information, and I think, I wouldn't say, I don't think we need another one, per se, another study, but how do we use this based on the population that we have currently, to really look at our needs? So yeah, it's really good information. Any other comments or questions from the board?
I was just going to say that it also caused me, I'm glad I had to look at it again now thoroughly, because it caused me to notice some things I thought weren't there, and I'm going to have to look through it again now that I've made my real first contact heavily with it. And I think it will be helpful to note what isn't in it also, and what what might be different depending on whether it's a shared building or not, which could be either one.
Sure.
At this point. So it does matter, and some of those missing things matter.
Yes, agreed.
That would be very important if you identify things that are missing, Tony.
And you have a good perspective that the three of us, I don't think, understand with your history of libraries even.
Okay. And I've seen not a great number, but worked in a number of libraries that I've been in some that have their problems just because of the way they grew. So I can appreciate some of the difficulties that might arise.
All right, thank you. We will move on to the West Fargo Area Community Program presentation. We'd like to welcome speakers up to present around the West Fargo Area Community Program.
My name is Frank Lensmeyer, and I'm the president. I will move
Okay,
up there.
okay.
This is our treasurer, Vince Delkey, our secretary, Annette Roth, and the vice president sitting behind me here, Marlene Canterbury.
Welcome. We're glad to have you here.
We thank you for inviting us. Some brochures here I'd like to give you before I start. I think we have some important input on your concerns that you were talking about a moment ago regarding the square footage of a proposed new library. Our treasurer, I think, has business cards that he'll give you too. You got the business cards that go with it. We met with the city finance people back in November of last year. They invited us to the city hall and we talked about our plans. We have a comprehensive plan for senior activities here in West Fargo, meal sites, social events, a lot of programs, and we put on a Extravaganza here every year. Now the COVID-19 knocked us out the last couple of years, but we're planning to try to make it again in April this year. We have not had a study on what our needs are, but I have some square footages that I could give you that we need about 2,500 minimum square feet, and we have a lot of things, but I don't know how much good they'll do right now tonight because we have our needs assessment from 2016. We had a group from Mary College did a lot of in-depth talking to the community. Our population has been expanding so rapidly since we started in 2009 that our plans were constantly being changed. In November, when the city talked about us getting, looking at meeting with the library, we had connections, we had meetings lined up with library personnel. Well, you know what's happened since the late September when the city asked us to meet with them. Every time I got a hold of someone, then they were gone to another job, and it's been I'm sure it's been hectic for you folks at the library. But our group voted last year to expend some monies on a needs assessment space-wise for our senior citizens, and that's what we're so excited about getting involved with the library. When you're developing plans for a new library, it's a very good fit. It's around the country. There's a lot of senior and community centers that are tied in with libraries. I don't know if you're aware of that, but it's where they have cafes and different things, a lot of neat things. I've been through your study in depth, and I think it's pretty thorough, but the square footage changes. The more people we have in the community, it comes down to you need about this many square foot for a well-operated library that's going to provide all the services that the library is trying to provide to our community. You need so many square feet for like a meeting room. I think you've got 30 members, maximum meeting rooms on the second floor where we used to go to the afternoon movie at the library, a lot of our seniors, and enjoyed it. They made a little popcorn and stuff, but we think those meeting rooms need to be like room for 100, and with a good soundproof divider that you can break it down into rooms that'll handle 50. Then you get 30 people in a room and you want to present something, so those needs will fall in place when you look at the population of our community. We were thinking back when we were planning, okay, the library is going to need about 30,000 square feet. We started doing our planning before we got our hats off and on. It looked like the library in the community, the way it was growing, would need 45,000 square feet, and now it even looks like more. And even everybody tells us that there's so many other things that are demanding money from our community that we might have to think differently. But can we afford to? If we're going to do something, a community needs a library, but it can be a center of the community. If you'll notice our mission statement on the back of our business cards and our vision for the city of West Fargo. We put that together back in 2009 and 2010 when we were forming our group. And we envisioned, we were looking, and we are here today looking to be included in the new building with space for our seniors. But in reality, we should look even beyond that if we're looking for a new library, a community center. Back about 2-3 years, I think around the time or a little before your study was done for the library, there was a project studying arts in our city, where arts and things like that, where there could be small groups performing, that could be part of a library too, So do we look at community center? Do we look at senior center? We are here looking to team up with you. We are willing to do this study. We think the study is necessary. Tie it on or somehow work with the company that gave you this assessment you have, because it's pretty good. And it kind of pretty well tracks with what we were planning or thought the city needed even before it was done. So it's a good plan. It's not complete because we're changing so rapidly. But we're here, we'd like to team up and you accept us as a member of your group and work together, and we'll spend the money for the assessment needs for what we want to be part of the library. And I would seriously ask you to consider, do we need to look for more in the community, to bring more people into this project that can go out and help with the fundraising, to ask those different groups that would support this project. So it's probably a little bit more than you were expecting to hear from us, but I got something here. I can give you some quick quotes here. Okay. Needs consideration in securing a site. Minimum, it was 1,600 square feet. Today, it was 2,500, and that's been a while ago now. Capacity of serving up to 200 people. Now I'm talking about our seniors. Access to kitchen. Ability to provide minimal storage space. Handicapped accessible. Adequate parking. Reasonable rents. Liability and flexibility of staff to work with park district, library board, or whatever entity we may team up with. Availability of site to take on minimal additional responsibilities, provide phone information to callers. It's just a plethora of what it's needed. But some of these meeting rooms, some of these things that we could utilize as a community can also be the libraries. Seniors, we felt we could do our daily meals, our social activities. Youth could come into the areas maybe in the evenings, or, And if you'll note, we were thinking about serving the seniors for our personal interests, but eventually people from cradle to grave. And if our mission statement doesn't fit in or tie into what the mission statement has been of you folks on the library, I don't know what does. Serving the community from cradle to grave. Movies for us seniors, reading for the youth, and everything in between. And the tech, you've gotten really good in technical help, and our people have been using that. So I'm here to say that we're willing to put our money on the table, get a study how we could tie in with the library's plans for a building, and if we can include more people in the community to come aboard, I think there would be a better chance of raising private funds as well as municipal funds. And I don't think this should be looked at on the cheap. If we're going to build a building and a structure that's going to serve the community, I think we need to gather together. I had a couple things. I've always got something to kind of build up the thought here on working together, teamwork, and all of that. But I've got something here I'd like to share with you folks on the library board. The credit belongs to those who are actually in the arena, who strive valiantly, who know the great enthusiasm, the great devotions, and spend themselves in a worthy cause, who at the best know the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if they fail while daring greatly, so that their place shall never be in those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. This is a worthy cause. This is to look for that grand, great library that will be here many years after we are gone. For that community center, if it goes that far, at least for a senior center. We could talk statistics, rooms, entrances, and all that. A lot of these things are required by law, the parking, handicapped accessible and that. There's need for meeting rooms for our group that can be shared. They can be used in the daytime, they can be available, you know, evenings or mornings when we're not there, you know. And I don't know if I've painted a good enough picture, but I'm willing to answer 125 questions if you've got them. But I think it's a worthy thing for us to seriously meet privately, look at getting together and working together to make this dream a reality.
Thank you.
Anything you
Yeah,
guys
anything
can add?
else?
Frank, if you want to tell them about our upcoming conference, our Extravaganza, April 21st.
Marlene, would you want to, you're our big pro on that. You and Sheena and Tammy?
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, I guess it is, maybe.
I suppose now, yeah.
My name is Marlene Batterbury, and I'm the Vice President of the WFACP. Annually, we have been sponsoring a conference, and it's a conference for seniors, 50 and older, and it's called the Extravaganza, and we've been holding it at the Doubletree Hotel here in West Fargo. Well, we haven't had it the last 2 years because of the COVID problems, but now we're planning Extravaganza number 4. And this is an educational event for seniors in the area here. So we have speakers, we have booths, everything that we want to have the seniors learn, get updated on things like Social Security and travel and things like that. So April 21st is our conference, Extravaganza 4, and you're invited to attend.
What time is that? I'm putting it down in my calendar.
It would be from 9 a.m. in the morning until 2 p.m. And we provide lunch then. And the city commissioner provides us with some of the funding for this too.
Great.
We have other sponsors. We have Sanford, who is sponsoring. They actually gave us money 2 years ago, and then we had to cancel. And then we have Ethos as a sponsor. We have the Valley Senior Services as a sponsor. We have had the library in the past as a sponsor. I haven't gotten any confirmation on that yet. But then we also have one other nursing home. Not a nursing home, but a care center. What am I thinking of? Shanna's. Home Instead. Yes, Home Instead is another sponsor. So we have a lot of sponsors for this conference too.
Great.
So any other questions?
No, and if the board has questions for the group or any comments around their presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Here's our activity calendar. You'll see on there, Extravaganza is on.
Thank you.
Oh,
But I can send you brochures regarding what all
Okay.
is done on those.
thank you so much.
And it gives you an idea of some of the activities that we'd be looking at, that we put on all the time. We are renting space right now at the West Fargo High Rise.
Thank you.
I do have questions about the calendar. I'm a visual learner. So I see that you normally do lunches every day. With the potential room, would you, there's lots of events that aren't at lunch. Do you meet in the same space?
We would
Yep.
need a kitchen that
Yep.
Yeah.
handle food.
So do we.
Yes.
So that
Yeah.
we can disperse food, you know,
Okay.
and eat, and we have to meet the legal requirements of Valley Senior Services.
Yep.
Sure.
Those things.
And you said it was 50 plus? Is that the population you serve? 50?
60. We're,
60, 60.
Extravaganza, we allow people in at 50 plus, but our group is the 60 plus.
Okay. Oh, yep, it says so right
And I'd like to let you know that us 60 plus people, you know, we walk across the street a little slower, we're stooped over a little bit, but inside these old bodies, there's still a lot of kids. And
Absolutely.
we like to go out and have fun, do things, and get around in our community.
Thank you so much. And, you know, it is a really interesting concept that, you know, I hope we can continue to talk about and pursue, and look forward to maybe some more work together.
Yes, I think I really like the fact that you have your own needs assessment, and we have our own needs assessment. I think when we had the joint meeting with the commission, I think from my perspective, to pursue a study moving forward, it would be very important to merge those two or align them to, just like what Tony pointed out before, to make sure that nothing was missing from your needs and nothing was missing from the library's needs, but to clearly identify what were shared needs, because I think that makes this proposal even stronger. But that, like you pointed out, that kind of merging or alignment needs to be done. So that would be important.
I don't think today is the day to do it, but it sounds like there should be a committee formed, and that would be maybe where the relationships would start. But we can't do that today. I got a thumbs up from out there, so that's positive. The one thing I want to make sure, I think this was missed at the joint meeting with the commission, and I really wish that John Shockley, city attorney, was here. The one thing that we need to make sure we do is we aren't putting the cart before the horse as a library board. And we can't move forward financially saving money, or even getting into too deep of conversations with groups without approval of this city commission. And that's in North Dakota Century Code. I just looked it up to make sure I wasn't crazy. So everything that you guys presented sounds great. I agree. We should shoot for the moon and build higher, but we have to make sure that we do have support. And that's going to take a lot of work on all of us to get the city commission on board with us.
Anything worthwhile is not easy.
That is correct. And I do love your Teddy Roosevelt quote that you had too. That is one of my favorite quotes around daring greatly. It's tremendous. Yeah, and I think at our joint commission library board meeting, the commissioners were really interested in us continuing to move forward in terms of looking at any other avenues. And then I think at some point, either having another joint meeting or presenting to the commission would be important. All right, any other comments? Again, thank you so much. This is really important work, and I appreciate the information here.
I would encourage you to let us get together and see what we can do. We're not committing to, we're willing to spend money for the research now, we have approved it in our group. But to get together and start seeing if we can work together, have a committee to work towards this project. Because I want a new library. I want our seniors committee center, but I want a new library too.
Yes, thank you. All right, we will move on to our next agenda item, which is approval of the teen summer library intern job description, and it is attached to our agenda. And do you have more information for us?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
All right. Hi, I'm Lauren Nephew, the Youth Services Manager at the library. I believe at the last board meeting in our library report, Kirsten touched on the Otto Bremer Trust grant that we received in support of our summer boost programming. So part of that funds is for supplies and things like that, but the large chunk of the fund was to support hiring some teen summer seasonal library interns. So their main role would be coming out on the Little Red Reading Bus route, helping us, kids get books, playing with the kids, interacting with them, and then also some shifts at the library as well to learn some customer service skills, to help with programs at the library and prepare programs and things like that. So we did, with this grant, part of this, the purpose behind it, we also wanted to make sure teens had sort of that real world, real life experience. So we want them to go through the formal job procedures, so fill out the job applications, do the interview process, have training and onboarding, and do some, training throughout the summer, exit interviews, so they can have that experience, have that reference for their future schooling or job applications and things like that. So we put together this job description. It is kind of a new position we haven't had in the past there. So most of the things here are pulled from kind of some of our program assistant, the same language as that, just kind of scaled down to what they'll be focused on. And then there's a few kind of unique things to this role that was added in here. So the benefits for teens, the training section, and the commitment section, just because this is kind of a unique position. And we want to just highlight that for the teens, kind of what they get from this and also what we expect, kind of right off the bat there.
How many do you expect to hire?
The fund, we'd be able to hire 4.
Oh, great.
And that doesn't affect the current budget because it's all a grant?
Yep, so we already have that, well, the Friends of the Library have that, and we have an agreement worked out, so they'll pay for these.
Has city HR reviewed? They've approved it?
Yep.
Great.
I have a comment about the working environment description. I think it might actually benefit you to include a description of the working environment on the bus, because this only describes the standard working office environment, and you might actually encourage some teens. I think that the environment on the bus might be really enticing for some teens to apply. And you might exclude them who might actually selectively apply because of that.
I think we could definitely do that.
And when, I know it's for the summer programming, but when are you hoping to have the individuals start?
It would be like that last week of May, first week of June. So once they're done with school, so it's not causing any concern with schooling, and we do kind of a week of training and then get on the bus there. It
doesn't really matter. I think this is a great thing and I'm gonna approve it, but are they required to drive?
No. Okay. No, we wouldn't have them drive the bus or drive out anywhere. They'd just be passengers.
And are you hiring 14 and older, 16 and older? What's your?
14 and older.
14 and older. Excellent.
Any other questions or comments? So we are looking to make a motion to approve this, I think, and what I heard with the addition of the working environment to include the bus, but to approve this job description so it can get posted.
I move to approve the teen summer library interns with the suggested changes and pending approval of HR.
I'll second that then.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We are good to go to get the changes made and then approval from HR and posted.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Next on the agenda, we have approval of circulation supervisor job description and budget allocation.
All right, I'm up here to talk about that again. So the supervisor team, including Molly Flasspohler, who's here tonight, Kirsten Hennigan, and myself, for the library service managers, and Amy Hitch, who is our circulation supervisor, are proposing that a second circulation supervisor be added to the library staff, who would function as an evening supervisor. The position would create a realignment of the day-to-day circulation supervisory responsibilities to the circulation supervisors, which would allow for more direct supervisor-to-staff communication, sustainability of library operations, and consistency of service delivery. The supervision and management of the 8 library assistants would also be shared. In addition, the troubleshooting and advanced inquiries of circulation responsibilities like interlibrary loan, technology circulation, and patron accounts would be distributed between the 2 staff members. The need for an additional circulation supervisor exceeds the current vacancies of our director and deputy director, as their roles are largely administrative in nature and not directly supervising the circulation desk. The filling of these vacancies would not solve that current issue and need, and this position would not change the organization structure of the library, and furthermore is considered a standard position in many public libraries. Although repeatedly discussed since before 2020, the creation of this role was deprioritized for more higher level management positions. While these management level positions are necessary, the need for another circulation supervisor is very pressing right now, and has been. Currently, the 3 library service managers spend 28 hours a month at the circulation desk, and the children's services librarian spends 38 hours a month. And that's the scheduled time, not factoring in coverage. And as a result of the time scheduled at the desk that is above and beyond our core job duties, many projects and growth opportunities have been delayed and will continue to not be prioritized. These include inventory standards, consistent weeding, automation of acquisition systems and budget, require time for data-driven collection development and collection analysis, hosting in-person technology programs, workforce development programs, community relationship building with cultural organizations, expansion of outreach story times in the Little Red Reading Bus route, development of teen advisory board, and the expansion of teen programming, the consistency of service level and standards, and the standardization of circulation procedures and training of staff. We have no schedule flexibility. If one staff member is sick, it affects more than one person and department, and it is near impossible for staff to take our vacation time. The library is open to the public for 63 hours per week, and we have library assistants here for all of those hours. However, their direct supervisor is only here 40 hours per week, and as a result, it's a challenge to have that consistent communication and training and direct conversations. The addition of an evening circulation supervisor would not remove the service managers and librarians from the schedule. We would be in the weekend supervisor rotation, provide coverage when needed, and allow for flexibility for all patron services staff. The reduction of hours at the desk for managers and librarians would allow our delayed projects to be prioritized, and the day-to-day operations would flow more seamlessly and sustainably. We recommend the approval of a second circulation supervisor and the related allocations of funds from the current vacancies. These changes are proposed in consultation with the city administrator, who has reviewed the proposed staffing changes and financing, and the Human Resources Department, which reviewed the proposed position descriptions and grading. The position description was last updated in 2020, and in this process, we did just a little review of it, which is the attached draft we brought in. It's only been updated to reflect consistent language with some of our more recent positions, so really nothing was removed or changed around. The grade, level, and responsibilities all stayed the same. Thank you, and Molly and I are available for any questions.
Thank you. Do we have questions or comments?
I have negative comments, and I feel so bad because it's not a staffing thing for me. That I agree, you guys need all the help you can get. Did the finance department look at this? I know you said that HR and city administrator did, but did the finance department look at it?
We
No.
didn't talk with them, no.
So I'm hesitant to fund anything with dollars saved, and yes, we do have dollars saved now, but next year, what does that do when hopefully positions are changed? We've already approved the COLA, which affected our budget. And again, this is not a reflection on any staff, but from a fiscal management perspective, personally, I have a very hard time moving forward with this.
So I will also say that I completely understand the need, and you did an excellent job justifying it. My concern, in addition to budget, is moving forward with any personnel change when we don't have a director. Because my concern is that when a new director is hired, he or she should have the flexibility to make personnel changes. And if we have authorized a personnel change that alters the budget, that might preclude that new director from making any personnel changes that he or she may want to make. So but you said something very interesting to me, Lauren, in your presentation. You said that the hours are open, and there's a lot of hours where there isn't coverage by a manager. Would the board entertain a discussion on changing library hours? Are we able to do that? Since we are down 2 administrators.
I think we would need advice from the city on that. That would be
Okay.
a huge change.
Yeah, I don't know if that
And I don't know,
if
that might
that's good for the
affect
community.
people's,
Well, okay.
I'm just gonna say, though, that I think it's serious enough that that's a
That-
discussion that you all need
That's
to
actually
have.
something that I would entertain.
I didn't hear you. Are you, you're supporting?
I'm saying that if you, our schedules are so tight right now and our staff is so
And you can't take vacation.
inflexible,
Yeah,
that cutting hours is our next option.
that's actually something I would
So-
entertain a discussion on.
And that's something I think we've briefly talked about
Yeah.
before.
I had a related question. Is part of what you're saying that you currently have empty positions?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we don't have a director,
have no
and we don't have the deputy director. What other positions?
okay.
We have the full-time program assistant, she got another position elsewhere, so that just opened up as well.
And the thing is, we've been rotating people in and out of that circulation desk for about a year and a half now. The turnover has been, we've lost like 8 people. And to train the people that we have in there and then to lose them, I'm very worried about our current circulation manager. She's at about her end. So you've got about 3 managers trying to run that library for a lot of patrons and trying to keep the services up at a current level that is really unsustainable. So I'm just gonna voice my concern as
I
being,
appreciate
this is a
that.
pretty serious question for us.
Yes.
I'm exhausted. I'm just gonna say that out loud. I've never worked I've been in this business for 30 years and I've never worked as hard as I have at this library. So it's not that we don't wanna serve people and that we don't want to be open, but I think in order to break what's happening, there's either gonna have to be some changes in our hours or we're gonna need some more help at that desk. We can't keep this on.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Perhaps, does it sound to me as if we fill the positions that are open or being advertised for now, that will, in the fairly near future, alleviate that? Not at all. Okay.
We haven't posted for the deputy director. We're gonna leave that up to
Okay.
the director when we
Yeah.
hire that person.
Yeah.
If that is a position we fill. But
Maybe I'll say one more thing
Okay.
to that. When I was hired 3 years ago, my suggestion to the person who was coming into that position was that you start at the circulation desk. That has been a weak point there for years. This isn't a new issue for us. The staffing there is very difficult. We've got 4 FTE made up by 14 people? They're all part-timers. They're shifting in and out. We can't even have an all-staff meeting. Nobody is able, we can't get all of those people together, so training them is very difficult. Consistency of management at that desk is really hard. Having an evenings manager and a afternoon manager is standard across every library I've ever worked at. In fact, when I came, I was shocked to see that they didn't have one. It's just a way for 2 people to sort of communicate. The staff will then have one person to kind of go to when they're working every single shift. It's not I promise it's not an outrageous ask.
Again, my comments have nothing to do with the staffing. I don't doubt that, but especially without having finance look at it, I would like to table this.
Table this?
Until next meeting. I also really want to emphasize that we need a director hired.
Yeah.
I think that we haven't done I'm not that involved in the process, but I want to make sure that we are motivated in getting a new person. We won't be able to hire somebody right now until after our April meeting. The board, unless we have a special meeting, the board needs to approve and ask the city commission to hire it. So we have to wait for another meeting, then we have to wait for a city commission meeting to offer the position, and then that person has to accept the position. So the earliest we're looking at is probably late April, probably May. So I just want to make sure that we are actively taking steps forward so that other issues, which are huge issues for the staff, I can't imagine hearing you speak to it. It breaks my heart to hear that. I was unaware, shame on me for not asking questions. But financially, personally, if there's a vote, I will vote to table it or against it.
Well, and I think I've heard from the majority would like to see financials first, because it is not just a one-time cost.
So long-term.
It's long-term, and we want to do it right as well, but also have the new director on board too.
Also, sounds like we need to be right on the heels of
Yeah.
whatever goes on.
I think
'cause
if we
this
could do
can't
some-
fester very long.
Some prepping, like if, at next meeting, if we do bring back financials, if we've done some work around that, and we can have some more information about what does that do long-term to the budget, I think that would be helpful.
So I would make a motion at this point in time to table, I don't have the agenda in front of me, I opened up so many tabs. I would like to table the approval of the circulation supervisor job description and budget allocation to the April meeting. I am happy to talk to Jim at Finance and help lead that conversation. It sounds like you guys have a lot on your plate. And maybe we can talk after about who I should contact with the library to make sure that we're all on the same page.
That works, yeah.
But it hasn't been approved yet.
So we have a motion to table it till April, and then pending some work with finance. Do we have a second?
Can I add
Oh,
something to
yes,
that?
please
Can
do.
I ask, is anybody in favor of me, I will take on this action item of me asking what the steps are to decrease library hours because of
So
staffing?
should we do, let's have two separate motions.
Okay.
So right now, we have a motion on the table to table the staffing adjustment until April, until we have more financial information. Do we have a second on that motion?
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. All right, that motion passes. So Jody,
Yep. I will make a motion for myself to contact the city and get information about what would be required to decrease library hours due to limits in staffing, if necessary. What would be needed to do that?
okay, I'll second that motion. Any other comments related to that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. All right, so we look forward to hearing more in April, and then hopefully we have a better kind of process and next steps, okay? Do you also have the library report?
Do, yes.
All right, that is
Get
our
along with
next
me tonight.
agenda item, thank you.
All right, so it's Lauren again, here with our library update for you. So some recent adult events we had, our 4 book clubs are going strong and steady, technology tutoring as well, and then our genealogy assistants. Our English conversation circles are growing as well, slowly and steady. Some other events we had the past month here, we had the Indigenous Winter Medicines and Teepee Making class, which is that picture on the right there. And then Kirsten also went to Workforce Wednesday and had a little table there about some of our resources we have. And some of our youth events, we've continued our early literacy story time, which is growing wonderfully. We have a huge crowd for that one, and our baby story time as well. And then we continued our outreach story time visits to daycares and preschool centers. Some other events we did, we had, as part of Frostoval, we did a snowy stem. However, due to the crazy weather we've had, we had to move it indoors. We still had lots of fun. Picture there, they're making indoor like ski launches, so making little rockets, I believe, but little ski people. And then we also did teeny tiny art for teens today, so little tiny canvases they got to paint. And then some more library-wide things. We did a winter reading challenge for January and February, and that was on Beanstack, and we had 226 participants, so that was a lot of fun, just motivating people to read books in the kind of cold winter months. We also had middle school winter and spring Beanstack challenges, so the middle schoolers, all 3 middle schools are doing either a winter or a spring challenge that are kind of crossing right now. And we've been seeing really good results of kind of keeping that group in particular excited about reading using Beanstack there. And then just started earlier this month was the Laura Youngbird curated art exhibit in our activity hallway. It's a really awesome exhibit if you hadn't had a chance yet to take a peek at that. All right, and then some upcoming events. We have a Storytelling with Elder Ojibwe and Lakota members event coming up. Our book club, story times, tech tutoring, and English conversation circle will be continuing. And then looking ahead to National Library Week, that's the first week of April. We'll be doing some things in the library, some packets for National Library Week, activities for kids, and then we're also planning to do a bit of a release of some summer boost information. So we're gearing up for summer and getting excited about that. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments? I know I do appreciate all of the activities that are provided. I think there's a wide range, especially with our changing diversity in our community, so I do appreciate that.
I have just a question about the programming, because I saw that, is it the English language, the conversations?
Yep.
Can you, because I've saw that and I thought that might be fun to do, but I don't have a strong knowledge of any other language and a poor understanding of this language sometimes, but is that something I could still participate in?
I believe so, yes. It's about just kind of that extra practice and
Okay.
Community building a little bit as well.
Excellent. I'll research that too.
All right, thank you so much. All right, last on, we have any other business?
I have something. Okay, so this is a topic that.
Get close to the mic.
Okay, sorry. This is a topic that predates Tony and Leanne, but Alana may remember at the meeting right before you joined the board, we discussed that our library does not have access to public transportation. There's a stop that's approximately 2 blocks away. And so Alana and Mandy had actually done a little bit of investigation about what it would take to get a bus stop at the library. And there was some discussion about it costing some money and that it might not actually be feasible. But I felt really strongly that our library needs access to public transportation, and so I asked that we table it, and that was a long time ago, so I'm sorry it took me this long. But I would like to ask the board members if there's any objection to me kind of reviving this discussion and just collecting more information. So specifically, I would like to collect more information about exactly how much cost would be involved if we did get a bus stop at the library, and then also precisely about the needs. So I'd like to learn more from the library personnel, how many would use public transportation if it was available. Also from other people who use that building. You know, maybe if there's more need within the building, maybe they'd be willing to share the cost with us. And also just at that other location, maybe if there's other personnel or other people who come to that space, maybe they've heard from their users, or maybe you've heard from other patrons that, hey, this is just a really big need. So also that might be really helpful because we all hope the library will move to a new location soon, but maybe if there's other users at that location, then the bus stop there will still be appreciated when the library moves to a new location. And also feasibility. So I'd like to reach out to Matt Bus and just ask them what's involved in studying that location, how long it would take, you know, if it's a 1-month study, 1-year study, I don't know. But I'd just like to collect all that information and come back to the board and have a more thorough understanding of what it would take to get a bus stop at the library.
I'm all for gathering more information. Based on conversations we've had today, I just want to make sure you're willing to do a majority of the legwork. I don't want to put any more stress on
I'll do
people.
all of it. No,
All of it.
except for I might reach out to the library staff, and whenever you have time, I would just like somebody, maybe at your next staff meeting, if they could send me an email, like, or if they want it to be anonymous, I'm happy with that too. If there's somebody willing to just say, there's 4 staff members that said they would use the bus or something. I would just like to get a kind of understanding of the need, or they've heard from occasionally or frequently or never that patrons said, hey, I wish there was a bus stop here. I would just like, I feel like that would have us have a better idea of how necessary this would be or how useful it would be. We have heard from one potential job applicant that she didn't apply for a job at the library because there wasn't a bus stop. So that kind of information would be helpful.
Did you, because it was pre-Leanne and Tony, did you gather that, like any of that information when you first talked about it?
So Mandy and Alana had reached out to Matt Buss, I believe.
I was able to find the email I couldn't find earlier. There's no detail in it, but Brad Olson, who's the city commissioner, in May of 2021, he was, it says, I sit on the Matt Buss coordinating committee. So he was our liaison, but, so there's not hard information. It was just a really, really brief conversation.
Okay, yeah, I would, I guess, love just that information that you're seeking, so that we could look at options, if there are options. Thanks for,
Want a motion, or I don't think we need
I
a
don't-
motion to gather information.
I don't think
If somebody felt strongly that I should not do this, I just wanted to have input from the board.
Sure. No, I appreciate you kind of taking the lead on this and seeing how we can make maybe some access better for both patrons and maybe workers too. Good, thank you. Any other business?
Is there a hiring update that you can share?
I think I can share, I can't share names because there's
Okay.
nothing official. We are moving to bring in a candidate, a single candidate for a second round of interviews, bring that person into town because we did all of our interviews on Zoom.
Okay.
One, it was storming that day. Two, we had some out-of-town people. So that's happening next week.
Okay.
And I think they'll be in town and we can show them West Fargo, show them the library. I think we're working on some staffing, some meetups with staff, because that was very important to staff as we talked with staff.
And I did receive a meet and greet invite too,
Yes.
so I plan on attending that.
Perfect.
That's great. So we're moving
We're
forward.
moving forward and I think we're in a good position.
The only other piece of business I have is that anything that the staff needs that we can help with, I've had the budget on my mind. I don't know if anybody's been working on that, but I am happy to dedicate active time towards that. I know it won't help a lot, but I think I am willing to do what I can, and feel free to reach out. I assume we are all in the same boat, but I do have flexibility in my day that a lot of other people don't, and I'm willing to do that.
Thank you. Any other comments or business? All right, that is the end of our agenda. We are looking for a motion to close out our board meeting.
I've made every other motion.
You need a second? I second.
No, we need a first.
I've made all the other motions. I don't dare make any more.
You want to make a first motion, Tony?
Yes, I do, and that's what I was thinking. You
Okay,
make a motion to terminate the meeting.
Terminate. Sure.
or adjourn. I second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you for coming, everybody.